Facebook and Instagram. And tonight we are talking about the difference between liberal arts education and liberation arts education. And I actually want to have a conversation. I want to understand what you think the difference is between a liberal arts education degree and a liberation arts education degree. I see some family here. I am Tom Pack. What's going on? What's going on, Greg? It's good to see you. I see some familiar faces. I hope you are all well. As you know, I'm in the middle of my campaign to actually give away 3,000 copies of my new book, The Undergrad Railroad, to students, particularly Black and brown students who are waiting to receive it. I actually have 3,000 Black and brown students who are in high school or in college who are waiting to receive this. I have 22 partnering organizations that are ready to distribute this book, and it is ready. And we have a Kickstarter campaign going on right now at theundergradrailroad.com, and I need your support. But in exchange, I guess, for your support, I'm getting on here on live and on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and I'm sharing my thoughts on freedom. I've been able to achieve freedom according to Robert Kiyosaki's definition, which is where your passive income surpasses your cost of living. And this was actually a commitment that I made when I read that book, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in college. I already knew straight off the gates that I wasn't buying a single family home because of that book. And I was patient and I waited. And my first property was a 3-family home in New York in a great market on the edge of the hood and a good neighborhood. It was like literally on the edge. That home has appreciated. That home generates cash flow. That home has provided me equity and line of credits, and in addition to my own income, to actually expand my real estate portfolio to 5 different pieces of property. On top of that, I still have my business. I still have my wife's income. And so collectively, we are able to free ourselves to a point where we no longer have to work for money. I'm going to repeat that. We no longer have to work for money. Money does not dictate how we move, live, and make decisions. Right? Do I still work for money? Do I still work to get money? Do I still get paid? Yes, I still get paid, but I no longer have to work for money. And that is a place that I believe is possible for all of you to experience. But you got to get focused and you have to have a long-term vision. I know there's a lot of get-rich-quick schemes being sold to you on the internet. Just put up this website, drop ship it, do this online course, this and that. And while I hope that those things bring you some fast cash, which you can then turn into a real asset, I know that freedom is actually a long-term game, and you have to be a legacy thinker in order to get free. So for those of you who haven't already contributed to the Kickstarter campaign, again, I'm raising $10,000 to give 3,000 copies of this book to students, particularly Black and brown students who are high school seniors or in college, to help them navigate the Undergrad Railroad, which is how to escape college. Yes, escape college, right? With less student debt, a higher paying job, and more financial freedom. But because I know that the books that have actually transformed my life, they were usually given to me. They were given to me by a mentor. One of the books that has transformed my life was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Another book that transformed my life was The Miseducation of the Negro. And these books were given to me. And so I'm actually educating you all who probably are out of college now, and sharing my thoughts and my actually experiences of creating freedom before the age of 40, so that you can learn from my experiences and take those with you to start paving your path. So I'm so happy that you're here. I see people joining us on Facebook. I see people joining us on Instagram. And this is a conversation. So the ultimate conversation actually on Instagram, let me type in the URL really quickly, www.theundergradrailroad.com. If you want to contribute to the Kickstarter campaign, please do that there. I need your support. On day one, we actually raised 5% of the funds, and the Kickstarter campaign ends on April 30th, but would love to get some momentum today. And so I'm reaching out to you, and I'm just educating. I'm giving you the game. I don't actually know what's more important than you achieving freedom. I can't think of what's more important than you achieving freedom. So I know people are looking forward to their shows and their sitcoms and things of that nature, but if it's not helping you become free, it's probably oppressing you in some sort of way, or it's just keeping you neutral. So, uh, uh, I am Tadu says financial freedom is the only real freedom. I disagree a little bit. There's actually three different forms of freedom. Okay. There's mental freedom, there's financial freedom, and then there's time freedom. Right. There's a lot of people who are financially free, but they don't have any time freedom, and they actually don't have any mental freedom. I'll give you an example. This could be somebody who's a lawyer who's getting paid abundantly, right? But they're also working 80 to 100 hours a week. They've increased their cost of living to a point where they actually don't want to go backwards. It's really hard for people to go backwards when it comes to their cost of living. And so one nugget that I want to give you tonight is that instead of trying to keep up, a lot of people say you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. I rather, if you're trying to keep up with anybody, keep up with the Jeffersons, okay? Don't try to keep up with the Joneses, keep up with the Jeffersons, all right? But instead of trying to keep up, when it comes to your cost of living, you should only allow it to creep up. Don't try to keep up, instead creep up. Don't try to keep up, instead you want to creep up. Okay, so what does that mean? We as human beings, when we've gotten to a certain point, we tend to hesitate, or it becomes very difficult for us to go backwards. So if you're used to eating a certain quality of steak or chicken or at a certain restaurant, it's hard to go back to McDonald's. I used to eat McDonald's and fast food like it was nothing when I was younger. But as I grew and matured in terms of my diet and my palate and my awareness of my consciousness around what I was eating, it's hard to go back, right? Once you've owned a home, it's actually hard to go back to renting an apartment. Once you've driven a new car, it's hard to go back to pushing a jalopy, right? And so what tends to happen is we get out of college, right? We get out of college and we think that the world owes us something, or that we deserve something, that we actually accomplished something by getting out of college. Truth is, college didn't hurt you. College wasn't hard to graduate from, right? But we think that we accomplished something. And so we're like, look, I deserve a car now, right? I'm making some money. I deserve a car. And then I deserve a house. And then we start accumulating all these things because this is the first time that we're seeing commas and checks on a consistent basis. And what happens is your cost of living that you had in college, which was probably low, you were comfortable living on a cardboard box and having roommates and eating top ramen. You were comfortable doing that, and you were still able to find joy. All of a sudden, you exit, you get a job that is putting some commas in a paycheck, or one comma, excuse me, not some commas, a comma. And then all of a sudden, you increase your cost of living. It skyrockets on the top of the fact that you now have a new debt to pay 6 months after graduation, right? And that is your student loans, okay? So now we're accelerating our cost of living. And once you've accelerated that, it just only builds momentum. It starts to build momentum. And now you're making some income, but you see, your cost of living is rising with your income. And so what tends to happen with that is your freedom is the actual difference between your cost of living and your income. Your freedom is the difference, right? But if your cost of living is rising with your income, or your revenue, actually, which is your paycheck, then there actually is no additional freedom. And so you're wondering why you're making more money. And there's a lie out there that freedom is about just making more money at a job, just getting a higher paying job. It can help if you're strategic and you're doing it right, but it doesn't actually guarantee you more freedom if your cost of living starts to grow in proportion to the amount of money that you just earned. And in fact, you feel more entrapped because now you are used to putting your kids in certain kinds of schools. You're used to driving certain kinds of cars. You're used to taking certain kinds of trips, and nobody wants to look like they're going backwards. And so this is really the danger of trying to keep up, and instead actually only allowing your expenses to creep up. I'm very particular when I sign up for subscription-based services. I'm very particular when I see a portion of my lifestyle starting to expand and go up. And not because I'm a stickler, not because I'm cheap or anything like that, but here's one of the secrets is that the lower your cost of living, the easier it is for you to be free. It's that simple. The lower your cost of living is, the easier it is for you to be free. I'll give you an example. If someone actually needs $10,000 a month to feel like they have everything that they want and that they have joy and that they have peace, they're going to have a harder time becoming free than someone who actually only needs $3,000 a month to have joy and to feel like they have everything that they want and desire. And in fact, some of you who are here tonight actually had more joy when you had less money. Ask me how I know. Some of us here had more joy when we had less money. How crazy is that? We had more joy when we had less money. Some of y'all be like, no, I don't agree with that. No. If you really look at the amount of joy, how much you were smiling, how stress-free you were feeling. Some of us had more joy when we had less money. And this sounds counterintuitive, but what it means is that if you grew up in a situation where you don't come from a lot, but you look around at the family reunion or just in your living room, and you still see people able to laugh, able to joke, able to still have peace, able to still be caring and giving, what that means is that the people around you have found a way to find joy. And I don't do happiness. It's about finding joy. They've been able to find joy in the midst of external conditions that don't seemingly match what they're feeling inside. And when you can find joy at a lower cost of living, it actually is easier for you to become free. Because if you only need $3,000 a month to actually live, right? Not to live, and I'm not talking about just surviving. I'm talking about to still have joy. Literally, that puts you in position to be free if you were to able to acquire a triplex where you live in one unit and you rent out the other two. Now, if you need $10,000 a month to actually experience freedom and peace and joy, it's actually going to take you having 3 or 4 triplexes to be able to command that much in passive income in order for you to have joy. Okay. So there's this interesting thing where, especially people who grew up in poverty or just are comfortable with living simple lives, they actually have access to freedom a lot easier if they can elevate their consciousness to a level of freedom. Because it's not about who actually makes the most money. I don't know if Jeff Bezos has more joy than any of you who are here tonight. He actually may have more stress than those of you who are here tonight. You think that because he has billions of dollars, you think that he is a billion times happier and more joyful than you? There's not a direct correlation. You think that somebody who is making twice as much has twice as much happiness and joy as you? No. There's not a direct correlation between how much you earn and your joy and your inner peace. And once you come to terms with that, it actually takes money off the table. Is there a base amount that you definitely need in order to preserve and to survive? Yeah. But when you are able to combine your inner peace and your joy with passive income and still have your ability to command and demand money in the marketplace because of a skill set or a problem that you solve, you are definitely in a position to actually achieve freedom. And that's one of the lessons that I learned. I'm in a position right now where I'm actually building a bigger business, a business that is even beyond me. I've been in a particular space for quite some time, educating on entrepreneurship online, but a new vision is actually emerging inside of me. And because I've put myself in a position of financial freedom where I no longer have to work for money, I can actually pause and stop. I've been able to sit and meditate and reflect and actually listen to this new idea that's emerging through me, which actually give me the space and time to now go execute on it without any worry about dollars and cents. Most people are driven by money. And I'm not talking about people who are just in poverty who are trying to get from paycheck to paycheck. There are people who are making 6 figures right now who are still driven by money. Still driven by money. And anything that commands you is actually your master. I only want one master, and I want that master, if it's going to be anything, it's going to be my God. It's going to be my spiritual source. There's nobody except that entity, that energy, that source, however you want to call it, that has any power over me at this moment in time, except in my daughter and my wife. So I want people to have that kind of freedom. I want people to have that kind of inner peace. I want people to have that kind of joy. And my whole process with the Freedom School has been seeking to share what I've done and the path that I've taken with others. Because there are people who grew up with my privilege who aren't experiencing the joy that I'm experiencing. I hope they are. I hope they are. And there's not just one path. That's the beautiful thing about freedom. You can do it in any way that you want. But if you are going to do it, I want you to be experiencing joy along the way, not joy at some endpoint like retirement, not joy when such and such happens. I'll be happy when. If I'll be successful when, people say I'll be successful when this happens. I'll be happy when this happens. Well, that means you're likely not successful, or you don't feel successful or happy right here and now in this moment, right? And so what we have to do, and one of the tricks is figuring out how to be happy, how to be joyful, how to feel successful here in the moment, knowing that you're actually on this journey and that your current definition of success is only going to continue to expand. Therefore, you never, ever really arrive. You never, ever really arrive. What was successful to you, or what you define as success when you were a teenager, you surpassed that, and now your definition and your vision and your image of that is more expansive than it was then, right? And so you never actually arrive. And so since you never actually arrive, then you actually have to find how to be it energetically right here and now in this moment. Not when something happens, not when you check off a box. This is some of the trickery that is out there. We set these goals and they're out in the future, but what about now? Oh, I want to do this in 5 years. I want to do this in 1 year. What about now? When you can actually see how the dots connect, and you can see how the choices and actions you are taking right here and now are actually co-creating your future, then you realize that you have to be it now, not that it'll come later. You have to be it now in order to have it later. You have to know that you are successful now in order to see success manifest in your life. And so we go through this inner struggle of there's a lot of people call it good and evil, but you want to know what the real struggle is in terms of freedom? It's a struggle between your best self and your base self. Every day you are at war between your best self and your base self. Your best self and your base self. Your best self and your base self. Those are at war every single day. Your base self is going to choose the easiest, most convenient thing in that moment. And this is why 95% of our life is actually on automatic. Our days are looking like Groundhog Days. Tomorrow, Wednesday is going to look just like Tuesday did. Because you're going to make the same decision. You're going to eat the same breakfast. You're going to take the same path to work. You're going to approach your day the exact same, right? 95% of tomorrow is going to look just like the day before, right? Meaning that you have stopped making intentional choices. You have stopped making intentional choices. You know that you have 1,000 choices that you could make prior to leaving your home, or at least hundreds. Do I wake up on time? Do I not wake up on time? Best self, base self, best self. Do I exercise? Do I not exercise? Best self, base self. Do I eat healthy? Do I not eat healthy? Best self, base self. Life is binary, y'all. This path of freedom is binary. And the choices that you're making are either binding you or they're freeing you. It's really binary. A lot of people want to make this path to freedom this confusing thing. It's really binary. It's best self, base self. Is the decision that I'm making right now in this moment, is it going to move me towards my best self or my base self? It's that simple. And if you are conscious of every time you come to a fork in the road, right? In terms of your eating, in terms of how you show up, in terms of how you talk to this person, in terms of the energy you bring into the room, in terms of how you submit a piece of work, in terms of how you choose to start your day, how you choose to end your day, how you choose to treat somebody, right? Best self, base self, best self, base self. If you are able to see all of these decisions that are creating your life, and the more you choose your best self, the more you'll live your best life. And the more you choose your base self, the more you're going to live a basic life. It's that simple. And the base self is really powerful because it means that you don't have to change. The base self is just replicating what you did yesterday. Base self is convenient, it's comfortable. Base self is what everybody else is doing. You were too smart and too talented and too hardworking to not feel free. You did not get all of this education. You did not go to these quote unquote companies, right, and get trained up and things of that nature. You did not go there to not feel free. There is no reason that you should not be free to live the life that you were created. Your time is yours. But here's how you know if you're free or not. How many of you could take one day off right now and not have to worry about money or ask for permission from anybody? A lot of you would say, oh, I could do that. All right, I can not show up to work tomorrow. Okay. How many of you could take 3 days off without having to worry about money or without having to ask for permission for anybody? Some of you are like, no, I'd have to reach out to somebody, okay? How many of you could take a week off without having to worry about money or ask for permission from anybody? Now a lot of hands go down. And this is actually irregardless of salary. Again, I remind you all the time, salary is not income. A lot of people call your salary income. Salary is not income. In a business, income is revenues minus expenses equals income. Revenues minus expenses equals income. But the trickery out there is that they call your salary your income. That's not your income. In a business, your salary is actually your revenues. Then you have your cost of living, which is your expenses. And what's left over at the end of the month, that's actually your income. What's left over at the end of the month is your income. Are we clear on that? What's left over at the end of the month is your income, not what you get paid at the beginning and the middle of the month. So there could be somebody who's making $100,000, but if they are actually living off of 90, then their income for the year after 200 days of work, weekdays of work, their income was only $10,000, where somebody else was making $50,000 a year, living off 35, and their actual annual income is actually $15,000. See, it's not just about how much you make, y'all. So as you explore this path between liberal arts education and liberation arts education, there are just some important things to know. If I'm trying to think about, and this is why I wrote the book, right? To make the distinction between liberal arts education and liberation arts education. The reason I went back to the college market is because I see a lot of people get trapped by this experience because they go here and they just thought it was about more information, obtaining more information, which they could have got for free on Wikipedia and the internet, when the truth is that this was your 4 years of space and time to actually get free and start to pave out your plan. And so I have to actually go backwards because when some people who are older come to me and they're like, Julian, I'm ready to get free, they've actually already bound themselves up in so many ways, from single family homes to high payment cars to other types of debts. They've already bound themselves. And in order to get free, we actually have to get them free of, extricate them from their own choices to get back to school, ground zero. And then we have to build up from there. Somebody who is young, who's 22 years old, the only choice that they made that they may not have been aware of is their choice around student debt. And it's actually easier for me to help somebody who is 22 actually pave a 10-year path to freedom than it is for me to help somebody who is 35 who has already bound themselves with a whole bunch of different things. On top of that, having a family, right, which can make it a little bit more difficult. It's easier for me to go free a 22-year-old than it actually is for me to free somebody who's 35, has bound themselves in all kinds of debt, and is on top of that has family who they're not responsible for and have to spend quality time with and shouldn't be spending quality time with. And so I actually went backwards because this is where it starts. The American dream tells us, go to college, right? Get the highest paying job that you can and get a single family home. That's the American dream. But the reality is that means student loans. That means you're reliant on one source of income and that you now have a single family home mortgage, right? These are the things that actually trap you. What they've sold to you as the American dream is actually what's trapping you. How crazy is that? What they've sold to you as the American dream is actually what's trapping most people today. How is it that 76% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, yet we're getting all these degrees and all this education? See, it's not about the degree that you get. The only degree that matter is really your degrees of freedom. The only degree that really matters are your degrees of freedom. And I shared with you just a moment ago some different degrees of freedom. Some of you could take one day off and not have to worry about money or ask for permission. That's a degree of freedom. Some of you could take 3 days off and not have to worry about money or ask for permission. Some of you could take a week off and not have to worry about money or ask for permission. These are different degrees of freedom, okay? Some of you are debt-free. That's a degree of freedom. Some of you have passive income that actually meets your living expenses. That's quote-unquote financial freedom according to Robert Kiyosaki. That's a degree of freedom. Some of you have businesses and assets that pour in way more than your actual cost of living. Those are degrees of freedom, right? So there's levels to this. It's not just, oh, I got this college degree and now this is supposed to free me. In many cases, college degrees are binding people because of the student debt. There's $1.56 trillion out there in student debt right now. $1.56 trillion in student debt. Now, the direct and the unsubsidized and subsidized direct student loans, those are at 5.05%. So $1.56 trillion at 5.05%. You know how much the government earns in student loan interest every year? $89 billion. $89 billion in student loan interest every single year. That would make them a Fortune 50 company. $89 billion in revenue would make them a Fortune 50 company. So this is why I wrote the Undergrad Railroad. This is why I wrote the Undergrad Railroad, because this 4 years of space and time, if you used it right, or if you're headed into it, this is your time to actually get free. When you're single, when you've essentially bought time. When else can you buy time like this, right? But if you go here and you actually focus on classes, whether you're going to undergrad or grad school, if you just focus on classes and you think that it's the classes and the information that's going to free you, you're missing the point. It's not just about finishing college, it's about getting free. You have to win college. You have to win this space and time. And that's two different approaches. Okay? So when I'm talking about escape college, what I mean is first you have to evaluate the situation that you've gotten yourself into. Some of you here have been through or in it right now. Some of you here have already been through it. Okay. For those of you who are vets and have been through it, just give me a shout out and let me know if this is right. First, you got to evaluate what you gotten yourself into. Then you got to strategize how you're going to get yourself out. Okay. Because the reality is that only 60% of students are actually graduating from college. This is the national 6-year graduation rate. First and foremost, yes, I said 6 year. I didn't say 4 year. The national 6-year graduation rate is only 60% for all students. That's crazy. Okay. For Hispanic students, it's 54%. And for Black students, it's 41%. Over half of Black students that start college don't finish. How crazy is that? You're going home and you have debt. Your homie who went on to become an electrician, a plumber, or a mechanic is actually having a better life than you because you were sold liberal arts education when you should have been there to pursue liberation arts education. College is when I actually got my mental freedom, when I started thinking for myself. But if you go there and you are just thinking like the professors and thinking like the authors of the textbook and thinking like society wants you to think and thinking like your parents want you to think, then you're not free. You're actually going to graduate and end up living somebody else's life, and you might be successful, but you'll be successful according to someone else's definition of success, which means that you're likely not happy. You can achieve success according to someone else's definition. You can make your parents happy, but if it's not your definition, then you won't be happy. And that's not the point. The point is for you to be happy. Your parents' joy is their job. Your joy is your job. Your parents cannot live vicariously through you. Okay? So that's why I wrote this book. And for those of you just joining us, I'm doing a Kickstarter campaign right now to get this book in the hands of 3,000 Black and brown students who need it in the next 2 months. The book is already written. It's not a Kickstarter campaign to write the book, get the cover design, or anything like that. I need your support to actually get the book in the hands. I have 22 partner organizations that actually have 3,000 Black and brown students, high school seniors or college students, and they're ready to receive the book. And if you go to the undergradrailroad.com, you can contribute to that campaign. And for every book that you buy, I'm actually going to donate one to that pool of 3,000. We're already 5% of the way there. The campaign just started yesterday, and we have until April 30th to actually hit that goal. So when I think about liberal arts education versus liberation arts education, what would I teach? What do I teach in liberation arts? First and foremost, of course, self-awareness. You got to know who you are. And that requires stillness, that requires meditation, that requires journaling, that requires silence and solitude. That requires really taking a hard look at who you are and understanding your natural tendencies, your strengths, right? Your talents. If I were to ask you right now, who are you? For some people, that's the hardest question in the world to answer, right? Are you a night owl? Are you an early bird? Are you introvert? Are you extrovert? Like, where do you fit on that spectrum, right? What are your strengths, right? What makes you unique? What are your natural proclivities? What are your weaknesses, right? All of these things start to shape who you are, right? What's your Myers-Briggs? Have you taken the Gallup Strengths Finder? What are your top 5 strengths, right? This is self-awareness. Then from there, that has to do with mental freedom, right? Understanding how your mind works, how your unique mind works, because everybody's mind is different. Then, of course, there's financial literacy. Why they don't teach financial literacy? Because they want us to stay broke. Financial literacy, if money is going to be part of your life, essentially every single day, then it would make sense to study it, to learn how it works and how it's made, okay? So this is a real key to freedom. The 2 things that stop people from being free are their faith and their finances. If you develop belief in yourself and you start to understand how money works, the path to freedom is easy. And again, it does not require you becoming a millionaire in order to be free. That's one of the lies that is out there, that you'll be free when you become a millionaire. That is a lie. You do not need to be a millionaire to be free. If my cost of living is only $4,000 a month, and I have 3 pieces of property that actually put $4,000 a month into my pocket, then I'm free, even without being a millionaire. So I just want to show you a different way. I want to show you a different path, okay? If I'm teaching a curriculum on liberation arts, I'm teaching self-defense. I'm teaching you how to grow your own food. If I'm teaching a course on liberation arts, I'm teaching you real estate. I'm teaching you the stock market. I'm teaching you entrepreneurship. I'm teaching you coding. I'm teaching you personal branding, right? I'm teaching you finance. I'm teaching you some economics. I'm teaching you marketing. I'm teaching you sales. I'm teaching you spirituality. Well, I wouldn't teach you spirituality, but I would create space for you to understand how you connect to your creator. That's spirituality for me. And religion is typically the rituals that are supposed to connect you closer to your creator. But some of the religions that we have out here today, they aren't bringing you closer to your creator. Might be bringing you closer to your pastor or to whoever leads your center. But religion is supposed to be rituals that are bringing you closer to your creator. You're supposed to feel closer to your creator when you do these rituals, okay? That's what I want to teach you, how to become closer to your creator. I'm not asking you to agree with me on what I call the creator or how I define it. All I want you to do is be close to your creator, however you define it. That's all I want. Because I know if you're closer to your creator and you're in alignment with your creator, guess what? Good things are going to happen. All things work together for good. This is what I would teach in liberation arts. I would teach you how to articulate yourself, how to write copy. I would teach you communication, especially with your significant other. I would teach you parenting. And I haven't mastered all these things. And these are the things that I'm seeking to go get information about and understand so that I can be a master of them. And then once I'm a master of them, I will share everything that I possibly know with you. Okay? So now is the time to get free. There is no better time to be able to get free. like all the barriers that are there, literally the barriers that are still exist, they're primarily mental barriers. They're primarily mental barriers. There's a story about this elephant actually being tied to a tree with like some 3 foot rope. Okay. And because the elephant grew up tied to this tree with this 3 foot rope, this became its world, this 3 foot radius around this tree. And what happened is, what happened is, eventually, that mentality got plugged into the elephant's head that you could cut the rope, and guess what? The elephant wouldn't venture further than that 3 foot radius. The possibility is there. The possibility for freedom is there for you all, and I know it because it's here for me. I'm no different and I'm no better than any of you that are here. But if there's a mental block that is preventing you from stepping into your true power, into your truth, then it's not finances. But what happens is when it's a mental block, what we do is we typically externalize it as an external block. Oh, it's my job. It's this person. It's the economy. It's my college. It's my significant other. It's my health. We will externalize the excuse and the reason for why we're not free, when the truth is it's actually a mental thing within me that I'm trying to externalize as an excuse to put on some other entity. And when I put it on another entity, it's the government, it's Trump. And when I put it on another entity, guess what? That disempowers me. Because now if I have to wait for somebody else like my boss or Donald Trump to be free, to change in their ways to be free, then I'm actually going to be stuck in my position because I'm waiting on somebody who may or may not change in my favor. These are the hard truths about freedom. These are the hard truths about freedom. It's really close. Your freedom is closer than you think, y'all. It's closer than you think. And I wish I could just show it to you. I wish I could just show it to you. And the only reason, honestly, that I start with finances is part of the equation, because everybody thinks that more money is going to be the secret, that more money is going to change them and it's going to make them more free. And I've just seen it. I went to one of the best business schools in the world. I know a lot of people who are making high six figures, mid six figures, and not feeling any more degrees of freedom. I think that's what I've been blessed to have. I think that's why this has been my path, coming to a path or privilege where I am the son of two doctors. And I saw one of my parents actually struggle with alcoholism despite making lots of money. I've witnessed that firsthand. And so here we are, a generation that was taught to follow the Cosby model, be a teacher, doctor, lawyer, engineer, etc. And I've seen firsthand that all that money, if you haven't addressed the mental, right, that doesn't guarantee your freedom. But everybody's just chasing, more money. And then they look up and then you get this stack. You stacked up, and I'm happy that you stacked up, but then you're supposed to retire. And what do you do when you retire? If you don't have any passive income, you just start cutting into that stack. You start cutting into that stack. And then by the time you die, you have nothing to leave. No legacy, no assets to pass on whatsoever. This is the hustle. I went to a living trust workshop the other day because I'm trying to understand how to protect my assets and also to share with you as I start to master those things. And they said if you actually long-term care, when you're ready to get on long-term care, if you want to be on Medicaid, you can't have more than like $2,000 in assets. Anything above $2,000 in assets, they will actually deduct from your asset pool first. And then you have to get your asset pool down below $2,000 before they start giving you Medicaid. The goal of this system is to leave you broke. But here, I'll give you an example. I've acquired 5 properties with 11 doors. Let me see, 3, 5. Yeah, 5 properties with 11 doors. And I acquired most of those before the age of 35. So if I were to retire at 65 and I have no plans to retire whatsoever, what's going to happen? At 65, those mortgages are going to fall off. And at 65, just off those 5 properties alone, and I know I'm going to acquire more, at the age of 65, what would happen is once those mortgages fall off, I have 6 figures in positive cash flow that will be happening forever, indefinitely from rent. And guess what? When I die, guess who's going to inherit that cash flow? My daughter will inherit that cash flow because of choices I made at the age between the age of 30 and 35 to buy not a single family home, to buy rental properties. See, a lot of people want to get the single family home and then try to save up and then get rental properties afterwards. But now you already have this one single big mortgage. Why not just get the multifamily first and let that actually create the pathway to free you up to get the single family that you desire? It's backwards. Why are we doing it backwards? We're making it harder on ourselves. There's a simpler way. But because you watched so many episodes of HGTV, you got caught up. You got caught up in wanting that single family detached home with a white picket fence and a dog named Lassie. Now, if your single family home appreciated, I'm happy for you. The market has been booming. I'm happy for you. But guess what? You can't eat appreciation. You cannot eat appreciation. That appreciation is stuck in your granite countertops. And the only way you can extract that is if you take a HELOC out to make it liquid, but then they're going to charge you 6% on your own appreciation. You cannot eat appreciation. So will your home be as valuable when you actually need to sell it, when you're ready to downsize? Who knows? So when I buy properties, I don't primarily buy for appreciation. I buy for cash flow because the cash flow is going to be there indefinitely. The appreciation is like icing on the cake. It can come or it can go. Okay, so my freedom has been a combination of my self-awareness, actually developing and mastering a skill that I know can be marketed and sold in the world. It's also come from mastering money, real estate. I don't really dabble in stocks too much. Stocks to me is in a lot of ways gambling. Now, if you play the indexes or whatnot, traditionally stocks have increased. But if you're trying to handpick stocks yourself, you're essentially just gambling, legal gambling. Okay, so I actually have hard assets that have freed me in such a way where I do not have to work for money. Never, ever again. Am I going to go get money? Yes, I'm going to go get money by creating value and solving problems for people. But I actually never, ever, ever have to work for money anymore. It's possible, y'all, but you have to have focus. There's people who have less education, liberal arts education than me, who somehow got liberation arts education, who actually are even in a better situation than me. And I went to some of the best schools. It's not about liberal arts education. It's about liberation arts education. And if I was in college and I was going back to college again, I would be focusing on all that curriculum that I share with you and all the quote unquote free time. See the gaps that we had between our classes? We used to call that free time. Oh yeah, I only got 12 hours of class per week. I got all this free time in college. You know what? That's actually your freedom time. It's not free time. It's your freedom time. So again, for those of you just joining us, I see a lot of people joining. Right now, I'm doing a Kickstarter campaign to get this book in the hands of 3,000 young people, Black and brown students in particular, who are high school seniors or college students. I have 22 partner organizations that support these 3,000 students. I'm doing a Kickstarter campaign to raise $10,000 to get this book in their hands in the next 60 days. The campaign ends on April 30th, and we will be shipping immediately upon that date if we raise the funds. So you can go to theundergradrailroad.com. When you buy one book for yourself or someone that you know who's in college, right, I will actually match you, and I'll donate a book to one of those 3,000 students. Okay, so I'm going to be on here. I'm going to try to be on here every single day, sharing my insights on how to free yourself, as well as just promoting the book and the Kickstarter campaign. So I'm giving you, the people who are mentors, the people who have graduated from college already, I'm giving you the game in terms of what you can do in terms of your liberation arts beyond college. But I know that you have young people in your life, nieces, nephews, mentees, organizations you volunteer with at your church and things of that nature, who I need your help getting this book in their hands. Because if you started focusing on freedom at the age of 22 when you graduated, or even at the age of 18, if you started focusing on freedom at that moment in time, if the purpose of college was freedom for you, guess what? You'd be a lot more free right now. You'd be a lot more free right now. And so I'm not saying that it's too late for y'all. No, I'm not saying that whatsoever. But some of us have made choices that have bound us. We've gotten to single family homes because we just felt we deserved a home. We bought cars that we didn't need. We got credit card debt. And that actually means that you dug yourself a hole. You've enslaved yourself through some of your decisions. And I don't want you to have shame over that. We just need to be honest that, yes, this was a choice I made. No credit card company made me do this. No car company sold me. And no, I really wanted it. Let me just be honest, look in the mirror and say, I wanted this so bad, even though I hadn't earned it yet. I thought that because I graduated with a master's degree or undergrad that I deserved something, that I needed to show other people that I was doing well. And no, you didn't. Instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses, I'd rather you keep up with the Jeffersons. Instead of trying to keep up with anybody, just let your cost of living creep up. Don't try to keep up, instead creep up. You want to keep your cost of living as low as you possibly can until you get fully clear and aligned with what your purpose is, and until you get some of these financial assets in place that are generating passive income. From that moment in time, then you can start to creep up your cost of living. Some people just wanted to increase their cost of living and just hope that their salary would catch up with their cost of living. And guess what? Wages haven't increased significantly for employees. Wages are being compressed or depressed. All right. So I just want to say thank you all for being here. Please hit the hearts, like, shares. Hearts, likes, shares. I'm going to be coming on every night. And when you actually hit those hearts, likes, and shares, that just sends signals to Instagram and Facebook algorithms, probably the same algorithm because Facebook owns Instagram, so that when I come on live next time, this message reaches more people. That's what I need this to do. I need this message to reach more people. Nobody's out here sharing this information. I'm sharing with you my actual journey. These aren't theories. I'm giving you actual demonstrated practices. I'm living proof. And I just want to give the game to you. After this book is coming my next book, and it's already started. It's called Freedom by 40. And that's going to be for the older crowd, for the young professionals that are out there in their 20s and 30s. It's called Freedom by 40. And it's going to lay out step-by-step checklist, what my path was, the things that I did to actually get free. But I knew I had to go backwards and actually start with the young people because it's easier to free 18 to 22-year-old. If we start there, than it is for somebody who's 35, 36, who's made some decisions, not because they're not smart, but because they were financially illiterate. 3 things that'll take your financial freedom: inflation, the IRS, interest on consumer debt, right? And then ignorance. Actually, the 4 things. Those are the 4 things, the 4 I's that will take your financial freedom. I'll say them again. Inflation, okay? Interest on consumer debt, the IRS, 1/3 go to taxes if you don't know how to do your taxes right, if you don't have those tax strategies, and then ignorance. Ignorance should actually be number 1. Illiteracy, financial illiteracy. So with that, again, I would appreciate your support on this campaign to try to get this information in the hands of youth right now. The book is already written. This Kickstarter is not for designing or writing the book. This Kickstarter is to distribute the book. For every book that you buy, right? High school graduations are coming up. If you're going to one, please get this for 10 of the young people who are graduating. Get it for the person who you're going to see and 10 of their friends, right? I will match you and I will be giving this book, and that will be going to the pot of 3,000 for that we already have waiting, okay? So I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. You could have been committed to anything else this evening. You could have turned this off, right, and done something else. But to me, I don't know what's more important than actually working on your freedom. Can somebody tell me in chat, what's more important than working on your freedom? Anybody got anything? Family. Only thing that would have been more important than this right now is actually just spending some quality time with family. What else could have been more important than talking about your freedom, right? So I'm here to kind of interrupt what's been going on social media, all the talk, the celebrity stuff and this and that. Nipsey, he was about freedom. He was about freedom. And man, this is a tough one. Nipsey was dedicated to freedom. But as you can tell, through his language, through his interviews, he got mentally free first. Though his physical body may have been in the hood and in the roller 60s, he mentally freed himself first. And then once he mentally freed himself, what started to happen? The financial freedom started to follow. And then as the financial freedom starts to follow, what happens? The time freedom starts to follow. And when the time freedom starts to follow, then you can actually start living in your purpose and not worrying about money and things of that nature. And he was definitely living in his purpose. You can tell by the response of the Black community, and not just the Black community, just the brown community, Black and brown community. You can tell that he was living his purpose. He said, if you're not living in your purpose, you wasting air. You're not living in your purpose, you wasting air. Why would your creator create you with a purpose and then not give you everything that you need to succeed at that purpose? Why would your creator give you everything, give you a purpose, and then not give you everything that you need to succeed at that purpose? Do you not have faith in your creator? Is your creator not bigger than all these external circumstances that you're dealing with? Oh, it's a bad economy. Is your creator not greater than the economy? Oh, but it's my boss. Is your creator not greater than your boss? Is your creator not create your boss? Oh, it's my health situation. Is your creator not greater than your health situation? Oh, I'm divorced. Is your creator not greater than the pain of your divorce? Tell me one thing that your creator is not greater than. So what this journey, a lot of people want to say it's this financial thing. Yeah, financial freedom is important. But guess what? Number one thing that's stopping people from being free is faith. Belief in their creator, belief in themselves, belief in their purpose and their calling. It's the number one thing. Oh, ye of little faith. All you need is the faith of a mustard seed. I quit my job at the bottom of the economy. I quit my job on January 9th, 2009. Go look at the S&P 500, January 9th, 2009. Worst time in the past 60 years of the S&P 500. That's when I quit my job. But guess what? I have faith. I have faith. I have faith. Freedom is your birthright. You aren't meant to live in slavery. A salary is slavery. Here's why. Because once you have a salary, then they think they own you. Once you have a salary, then they think they own you. And all of a sudden, that 40-hour week becomes a 60-hour week. When you divide that 60-hour week by that salary, by that 60-hour week, you realize you're making less than the person working at Best Buy. How we live in as a collective or as a whole, it's not meant to be like this, y'all. It's hard for me to say that because so many people are living like that. We're not meant to live like this. I envision a world where everybody is free to live out their purpose. And when I'm talking about freedom, for me, it's not just kicking up my feet on a beach and doing nothing. That's not freedom to me. That's retirement. I don't plan on retiring. That's the vision that they paint to you on these life insurance commercials and things of that nature, and these bank commercials. That's not my vision of freedom, is sitting on a beach doing nothing. My vision of freedom is actually doing what I was called to do, feeling free enough to do what I was called to do, to take that risk, even though it's not a risk. What's riskier, doing what you're called to do or not doing what you're called to do? What's riskier, doing what you're called to do or not doing what you're called to do? Y'all tell me. In chat, y'all tell me. Being in alignment with what your creator created you to do or not being in alignment? What's riskier? I believe that you are guaranteed success when you pursue your purpose. That's what I want you to have freedom to do. Not just freedom for the sake of freedom, not just freedom so you could just sit around and do nothing. A lot of people are selling you that brand of freedom. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about freedom so that you can actually do what you were called to do while you're here. All right. So I'm off. I'm going to be back tomorrow. And then I travel on Thursday and Friday to LA. So go support. Go to theundergradrailroad.com and support the cause, the movement. In fact, let me go check, give some shout outs to those of you supported during this stream. Let me see. All right. So I just refreshed and I see we've had a lot of page views. I see that there's some people on the page, but no commitments, and that's all good. I'm not doing this for some reciprocal thing. It may not come from you. I know that reciprocity doesn't necessarily come from the people that you give to. It can come in many different ways. So it's all good. If you do have the ability to contribute to the lives of these young people to make sure that they learn the things that some of you did not learn when you were in college, I encourage you to just drop a dime on the campaign. If not, again, I know that it's not that necessarily that you all will return. I know that it's the energy that returns. I know that it's the energy that returns. So I'm gonna keep on giving and putting out to the world. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this to really lay out the liberation arts curriculum and everything that I would do to get free as fast as possible as a young person. The earlier we can get you free, the better. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you probably tomorrow. All right. So stay tuned. Make sure that you share this, and just when you're scrolling through your feed, look for me because I'm gonna be in there spitting game. All right. Much love, y'all. Catch you later. Peace.